Good afternoon. My name is Cameron Clark. I'm the director of the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. I'm here today with Mike Spaulding, one of our foresters with the Division of Forestry. And Mike, I've asked you to come here into the Yellowwood State Forest backcountry area to tell us a little bit about the history of Yellowwood State Forest and the backcountry area.
This portion of Yellowwood State Forest was originally acquired through the federal government. And the federal government purchased this land through the Resettlement Administration. This was a process that bought submarginable farmland from landowners and resettled them in more productive farming areas. This area we're at had a lot of intensive farming here, grazing, orchards, and even crop fields. And it was not productive land for that purpose. And so the federal government purchased that land, and eventually it became Yellowwood State Forest.
So about what time period would that have been?
It was during the 1930s. It was one of the New Deal era programs.
And we've been managing all or a portion of Yellowwood or Morgan Monroe State Forest for how long?
Yellowwood State Forest, when it became a state forest in the early 1940s, a lot of the early management was replanting and erosion control. Timber harvesting began shortly thereafter. Morgan Monroe State Forest began much earlier in the early 1930s.
Okay. And the backcountry area, the designation as a backcountry area was what, 1981?
1981, correct.
And that was from the Governor Orr at the time?
Yes.
Okay. And so from the standpoint of management, how different is the management of the backcountry area as opposed to the timber management of the state forest outside of the backcountry area?
When the backcountry area was created, the state agreed to manage the backcountry areas much more lightly than they typically would, restricting all the harvesting just to single tree selection, therefore allowing an area that would develop into older forest conditions, have larger trees than you would normally find in other areas, and over time a closed canopy.
And with regard to the backcountry area, how much management and timber harvesting has taken place since 1981?
Since it was designated in 1981, we've had two other timber harvests in the backcountry area, one occurring in 2011 and another occurring in 2013.
And what harvest method was used then?
Those were also single tree selection as well.
Explain to the viewers what exactly the single tree selection method really is.
What single tree selection means is that you only take a limited amount of trees and leave trees well distributed across the forest. So other harvesting methods may take more trees out per acre and may take out several trees in one area to create additional wildlife habitat diversity and new forest. But in this area, we will only be taking out a few individual trees per acre, leaving a well-distributed amount of trees across the entire landscape.
So this will never be clear cut?
No, that's correct. None of the backcountry area will ever be clear cut.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.